Hello and welcome everyone to the Two Matts and the Jeff podcast. We're just some middle-aged guys talking sports here. I'm Matt Moyer, joined by Matt Bannon and Jeff Moyer. And today we are taking kind of a change of pace based on a request from our one fan, or one of our fans. And we are going to do our list of NBA logos, worst and best of all time NBA logos. So, Matt, you want to start us off with we're going to start with our worst list, the worst NBA logos of all time.
All right, so my fifth worst NBA logo is the Spurs logo from 89 to 02, around that time. The Spurs logo, the one with the pastel colors. So it's the regular Spurs logo, but it has like light blue, yellow, and pink or something, or I don't know, orange. It was just, I'm like, that does not go. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking when they decided to combine the wonderful Spurs logo with that.
Yeah, that's definitely on my list. It may or may not be 5, but it is. I question the decision making for sure.
Yes.
All right. Well, my number 5, I just went because I thought it was just plain and boring kind of, and that was just the general Detroit Pistons. It was just basketball with a name in it. That's it. I mean, it's the ball with the Detroit Pistons, and and then also I didn't like one of their older ones when they had the horse.
Oh, see, now that's
a different
logo.
That's a different
logo, and that is a bad logo.
All right.
So
but anyway, but yeah, I'm like, this is just boring.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting when you look at some of these logos because, I wonder who's in the room in the decision-making process when they decide on certain things.
Right.
And, you're right about the Pistons. It's plain, but I kind of put those plain in the middle-of-the-road categories. Like, this isn't god-awful. It's just not creative. And in some ways, it's a classic look, which is something to be said for. But my number 5 is a logo I didn't know existed until I did some research. It's the Houston Rockets, and I don't know which year it is. And for those of you watching, I'm going to show it on the screen. It's a little grainy here. It's got a guy with a rocket pack on with a ball that says NBA, and it's in yellow and gold, and like a reddish color. It's clearly a 70s thing.
Early 70s.
I mean, it looks, I don't know who decided, like they got a cartoonist from middle school to draw the thing. So, if you've never seen it, you're not missing out, but that's my number 5 worst logo of all time.
All right. Yeah, I saw that one too. That was definitely funny to say the least. All right, my fourth worst NBA logo was the Wizards logo from 2011 to 2015, and I saw when I did the research for this that someone described it as a Santa hat wearing, MC Hammer pants rocking wizard. So it
could describe it for us that knows those references.
It's the one you
So
look
Google Hammer Pants and
it's Wizards logo Hammer Pants and you'll find it. So, but yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. It's just really weird looking.
I guess you're going to see a theme with mine because my number 4 was just the plain old black and white Brooklyn Nets. It's just I don't know. Like I said, again, the lack of creativity. Just like, okay, I mean, I guess, you like them because you like the Nets, but I don't know. I just thought it was too plain.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's something to be said for that. The plain Spurs logo you mentioned.
Yeah,
that.
but
right.
And the plain Brooklyn. So there's something to be said for those. But so I wouldn't put them in the ugly category, but I would put them in the lack of creativity category.
I think I didn't go. I saw those. I think the ones you were saying, I saw those, and I just didn't really think of. We should. I don't know. I wasn't putting all those, but go ahead.
Well, my number 4 is the Spurs. Same one you said. It's 89, 90, and 2001, 2002. So they went back to it. What are you thinking, Spurs? It's got a greenish color, a reddish pink, and an orange. For those of you that are watching, there it is, right there. I don't know what they were thinking. They have a classic look of a black and silver. What made them decide on this? I don't know what that has to do with San Antonio, but I question your judgment on that one for sure.
Let's see. My third worst logo is a Pistons logo, not that Pistons logo that you were referring to, Jeff. A Pistons logo from, you have to look this up because I didn't know it existed, when they were the Fort Wayne Pistons back 48 to 57, and it's a basketball playing man made up of pistons.
Yes.
So it's all sorts of pistons.
Legs
are round cylinder pistons, and it just looked really weird to me. I thought I put down kudos for the attempt to be creative back in the day, but
It looked
you know,
like a
it just looked
cartoon.
weird, looked cartoonish, yeah, but just like,
Even more.
yeah, it almost looked like the Michelin Man failed. Like Michelin Man,
There you go.
Michelin
Yeah,
Man
round.
attempted advertising failed is what it looks like. So
Okay. My number 3 one was the LA Clippers. Again,
which one? The
Actually,
current
it's the one
or-
that with the L, because again, I just lack of creativity. LAC. I don't know. I just didn't
So
care
the one
for
with
it.
the C and the LA
yes,
inside.
Yes.
of it. Yeah, okay.
Yes. So.
Well, my number 3, and you could go almost any year for this, for the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't like any of their logos at all. But the
Really?
one I have is from probably the 70s as well,
Yeah.
and it's got a really lame-looking,
Cartoonish.
looking buck on it who's wearing a green sweater and again spinning the basketball on the hoof in this case. I don't know what it was with the designers here that they think animals and other things should spin a basketball and that makes a great design.
So actually, when we were doing research, I saw that on someone's best list, and I was shocked. I was like,
Well, I think that's
whoa.
what makes
Well,
these lists.
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, right.
It is interesting, Matt, because as we get up on the list here, I know some of my 2 and 1 are some lists for best looking ones, and I think they're awful. Compared to, especially for some of the teams compared to other logos that they've had.
Right.
But the Bucks logo in general, I get it. You're a Buck.
Right.
But
Can't do too much with a
I
buck.
guess. I mean, I don't know the decision making on the names of these teams.
Right.
Like, who's afraid of a buck? Like that? Is
Yeah.
that a ferocious thing? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah,
you
who
know?
decided on Bucks for Milwaukee?
Right, like
back
the
in the
Pistons-
day?
Pistons,
Milwaukee.
like the
back in day.
Pistons. I understand in
Right,
Detroit.
that makes sense,
If you don't
yeah.
know why that is, do your
Motor
research
City.
on the Motor City. But there you go. All right.
Right.
So what are we up to? The number two.
Two.
Worst looking NBA.
So
logos.
there's another one that I didn't know existed. So the Celtics logo from back in the day, from 60 to 68, is this crowned leprechaun looking thing. You'd have to look it up. I should have printed out. I should have had visual aids like Matt, but yeah, it's very I don't know how to describe it. Just very odd looking. I mean, it's not. Well, I never knew it existed. I thought the Celtics only logo was their
Right.
Celtics logo with the guy with
Right.
the stick or whatever. Like, I had no idea that even existed. But look it up. Look it up. Celtics logo from in the '60s, and you'll see this weird looking crown
Yeah.
leprechaun.
All right. Again, I just didn't go way back for a while of my guys. So my number 2 was the Houston Rockets because it was just an R.
Oh,
I
the
think
R
it's,
with the-
yeah, and I guess when you really look at it, the long part of the R is a
It's
rocket.
supposed to be like the.
But it's just again, it's just I don't know, very plain and
Yeah, that lacks some.
so I like the
They pay people to do these
Yeah.
designs.
handsomely.
Yeah,
Sure.
a lot. And so,
Yeah.
so my number 2, I'm sure someone was paid a lot for this, is the Vancouver Grizzlies, and it's got a grizzly bear. The printing I have isn't so good, but all of them are just awful. They're just bad. It's a grizzly bear like swiping at something, and it's got and the colors. I'm not so big on the like what do you want to call it? Teal color.
Teal, yeah.
I don't think that really goes for. It doesn't look like a professional sports team.
That was a '90s thing.
Yeah,
Teal was like a '90s.
Teal was
thing.
like a 90s thing, but this is from actually 2001, 2002 alternate that I have in front of me. But all of them, the Grizzlies, I just think they missed the mark with it completely. And I think you can do a bear that looks pretty
Oh,
badass.
yeah.
I just think they haven't done it yet. So
All right. So my worst NBA logo is, and this is another one. I went back.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've been
No,
back in the
that's
day.
good.
So the
I looked at all of them. I just didn't-
Philadelphia / Golden State Warriors. That's probably all Philly Warriors, from 51 to 62, and it's this creepy Native American
Yes,
dude
I remember looking
dribbling
at
a basketball in just shorts. Obviously, today it's very degrading and offensive to Native Americans. And when I thought about it, I thought, when I think of the Cleveland Indians Indian logo, that's sort of more modern, and it's just not that I'm sure it's very degrading and offensive to Native Americans in general, but this one that I saw that I had never seen before for the Philadelphia Warriors, it's if you look it up from way back in the day, it just looked like it's very cartoonish, and it was just in just shorts and one feather. It was just I'm
Yeah.
like, even for back in the day, I thought, this was not.
Risque.
Yeah, why would you think this would be good or a good representation of Warrior? from even back in the 60s or 50s.
Well,
50s.
and you know when you're designing a logo, it's supposed to be to pride in your team,
right.
and I like that's
It
I just
didn't
don't
seem prideful
yeah.
to me at all, even no matter how you look at it.
All
So.
right. Again, I'm going with the newer stuff, and my number one worst was the OKC Thunder, and it was just like a shield with OKC on it. So
So Jeff's list clearly lack of creativity is where he
Yep,
went with
that's
the,
exactly
with the
what I
worst
did.
list.
Yeah.
Like, hey, these lack creativity. Mine is much more color scheme in a lot of them. My number one worst was the Utah Jazz, 96, 97, and 2003, 2004. So the 96, 97, there's photos of Stockton and Malone wearing this god-awful purple with a mountain behind it thing. Like, it must be the same people who sat in the room and said, let's make a movie with sharks in a tornado that came up with some of these logos, because I just don't know what they're thinking about in these color schemes and things. Like, you know,
Well, I get the mountain. I get the
Yes.
mountain
Yep.
part of it
I know,
because
I
I've
like
been to
it.
Salt Lake City
Right.
and there's snow on
Yeah.
the mountain peaks even in the summer.
Right.
So I get that idea. But the color scheme, like they went away from when they came
Right.
from New Orleans, the green, the yellow, and the blue or whatever it was. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I think
added
all
the
these.
purple. Purple was another. Big
Well,
90s, early 2000s.
think about when they did that. You know, they were losing to the Bulls and whatever. I think a lot of that is just all the marketing stuff that gets people to buy stuff. That's all it comes down to.
well, yeah, I mean, they have to change the uniforms every couple of
Yeah.
years so people buy new ones, and
Yep.
then they, you know, they're doing a good
about this-
job today with
Yeah.
with the city jerseys and different
Yeah.
things,
Yes.
and it sells uniforms.
Yep.
But I think, you know, someday you look back at that and go, yeah, I think that's going to the thrift store. Have we got any honorable mentions for worst?
Yeah, let's see. I got a few here. Let's see. Oh, right there. So I have the Clippers, the one with the C with the
Yeah.
LA inside of it. I thought that's really that's weird. I think you maybe started to mention this. The Pistons one with the stallion in it.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
But that Grant Hill unfortunately had to wear.
Why did they do that?
Oh, I understand. Like if you look at the logo, I understand like the whatever the letters are that they use. They have like tailpipes. So two of the letters have like tailpipes.
Right.
That I get because it's a Motor City.
Right. Why
But a
is
stallion. Like what does that have to do with Detroit? Like,
I mean,
I don't know. Maybe there's
Ford
some sort of.
Mustang? I was trying to figure it too, but
Yeah, I
why?
didn't think
Why
of
that?
that.
I
But
don't know.
it's such a stretch you
Yeah,
can't
that's
get
why-
it at all. And yeah, I agree. That was poorly planned, in my opinion. And
So another honorable mention I have is the Orlando Magic from 2010 till now. The logo, what I wrote down for that is it's the same logo, though, like the ball with the little stars and the little thing.
Yep.
It's the same logo as we have for like the local rec league. I'm
Yeah.
like, come on, you can come up with something better
Yeah.
than that they give out the rec leagues. And then I have 4 that were alternates that were that I didn't even know existed until I looked up like logos or whatever. And they popped up or whatever in research. There's Mavs 01 to their present logo. These are alternate logos, not their regular. I
Right.
guess they have alternate logos, which I didn't even know. The Wolves from 96 to 08. The Hornets 88 and 89. I guess they really, someone really, that when they were in Charlotte, someone really thought this is really bad. They only did it for 1 year, it looks like. And the Blazers from 02 to 06 had some logo with like wing flame things or
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
All right, so I definitely put on my honorable mention the Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
I put the Indiana Pacers because again it was like a P with a basketball in the middle. You know, I even put the Sacramento Kings. I know. I guess when you start looking at it, it looks like a crown,
Like a crown.
but still, again, I just thought it lacked some stuff. So
yeah, so my honorable mentions really, I mean, and I definitely could have added some more. Any Clippers logo, and all of them, they're all bad and they're irrelevant. The Clippers are a sixth toe. They're just. I don't know what they're doing in Los Angeles, and they don't seem to know how to do anything right, in my opinion, for the most part, except for firing their owner a few years ago.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know what they're doing. Like it's
they
just,
should move to Las Vegas.
yeah.
Or back to San Diego.
And the Pelicans again. I don't know what you're thinking when you pick a Pelican as your like the feared Pelican.
Well,
I am intimidated by the Pelican.
It almost was like the minor league baseball because they you know,
Yeah, but this
for-
the thing
for
is, this is the
professional-
majors. This is the big time, and you know they got to have a smarter guy in the room.
I think the pelican is like I don't know if it's a state bird of Louisiana, but it has
Might
something
be.
to do down
Yeah,
there.
might
But
be.
yes, you're right, Matt. They could have figured out something.
Right, and they just
Right.
can't seem to figure it out in terms of what anything that's going to be that great about a logo.
Right.
And their color scheme, they seem to switch it around a little bit. Like they just can't seem to figure it out. So that's why they got my honorable mentions. They're the sixth toe, both of them, of the NBA logo world. So let's take a look at some best. So there's some real high quality ones out there, not to be confused with the low quality that we just went through. So what do we got? Our Jeff, why don't you start with your best?
I will start. So my number 5, I'm going homerish here with the Philadelphia 76ers. The classic red, white, blue. The 76. It's basketball. It's stars. It's all that. So. It might be homerish, but I like the 76ers logo.
Yeah. So my number 5 was the Los Angeles Lakers logo, which Matt has on his shirt here. I don't think you even need to describe it because it's so popular. There's certain cities that are popular. That's one of the reasons why I think it made my list. Is it's just classic. It's nothing flashy about it, but it doesn't have to be. And they don't mess around and monkey around with it too much. It stays pretty constant from the last 30, 40 years. And if you got it right, you don't need to do too much with it. So I think it's a good solid logo.
So Jeff, I'm going to piggyback on you. So my number 5 is the Sixers current logo, or been the logo for a long time or whatever. The one thing if you can see Jeff's shirt or whatever. So the one that I know there's another part of it where there's another circle around it that has like
stars,
Philadelphia, and then it has stars on the bottom or whatever. So, but yeah, I think that's a classic look, and
me too.
Love that.
All right, so my number 4 is the current Golden State Warriors. I really like, with the color scheme and the Golden Gate Bridge on it. I just really like, the color and the Golden Gate Bridge. I thought Golden State Warriors is pretty cool looking. So
I think the contrast of the blue and the gold is pretty classic, and they've made a few missteps in some of their designs.
Right.
But it's a pretty classic kind of logo. So my number 4, and I'm going to tell you, this one, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, might have made my worst list. And maybe because it's retro now, and it's one you're going to know when you see it, if you hear it described. It's the Denver Nuggets from '81 to '92. It was a long time, and it's the rainbow skyline. Which for those of you watching, there it is, the rainbow skyline. So to me, it's a retro now that I really kind of think is pretty cool. But 5 years ago, I might have thought it was god awful. But right now, I kind of like it. And I think it's just it's unique. I'm not sure why the rainbow, but I just think it's a pretty cool thing and very very retro, because retro's in right now, I guess. So that's part of it. But there you go, the Denver Nuggets.
So that's your 4, right? So
yep.
You're on 4.
Yeah.
So my 4th best logo of all time is the Sonics logo, the Seattle SuperSonics, who some of you may not even know existed,
right.
But back from 1975 to 95. So they had it for 20 years. It's the one that has Seattle SuperSonics, and it has like the green and yellow, and has like the half bubble with the Space Needle in there and everything. So
definitely.
Yeah, I really like that.
So I think that color combination works pretty well, and that again, they found something good and they stuck with it. I think that's when you got something good, stick with it, and don't monkey with it too much. Although that might be hard for selling merchandise, I guess sometimes. But
it's funny you mentioned one of your worst, and so this is a same team. But the new version is my number 3 is the Milwaukee Bucks. I actually really like the green deer.
The Fear the Deer type one?
Yes, but I mean I like, because I just think that's a nice, like that one that you had was cartoonish. Yeah. But this one I really liked. I mean, they're the Bucks. I mean, what can you do? You can't. I guess they could change their name, but that's who they are. So why not? But I really liked that particular look of that deer.
So my number 3 is the Nets. From 88 to 89 and from 2011 to 2012. So it's the very similar design to now, but the color scheme is different.
Right.
It's red, white, and blue. It's partially cut off on my picture here. But I like that design. I don't know what it was about it. Again, the contrast. I like the red, white, and blue. That's a classic look. And it was interesting when they changed over to all to their current colors. I think you kind of can't go wrong with that red, white, and blue look, and I liked it. I thought it looked kind of like had a basketball and So anyway, I just kind of like that design.
So is that like the Kerry Kittles, Jason Kidd type?
Yeah, Jason Kidd for
Kidd.
sure. Kerry Kittles, I think there might have been some other, but definitely,
Kid,
All right, so what are we up to now? We're up to 3, right?
Yep, 3.
So my number 3 best logo of all time for the NBA is the Spurs logo. I just think that it perfectly represents their nickname, and again, it's from 02 to the present.
Yeah.
I think it might even been before that. I think they might have just tweaked
right.
how the U with the spur is, and that might have been why it's only from 02 one or whatever. But I think that just fits perfectly with what the team nickname is, and I think it's classic. And I don't think they've messed with their logo for a long time. I like the Spurs anyhow, but with what's his face's coach and stuff or whatever.
I don't think you have to mess with your logo so much when you win a lot too.
Yeah, true. Right.
That's exactly what
It sells
think about it.
merchandise.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
My number 2 is your flashback Denver Nuggets. And actually, wait a minute. No, sorry. I actually liked the current one. I did like that one too, but
Right.
the current one actually is a circle and it has pickaxes on the sides.
Okay.
And it has the mountain in the middle with a skyline. So
Do you remember what the coloring is?
it's like blue and like an orange or gold.
I
or
think I
something.
know which one you're talking
Because there was one, they were on last night even.
Yeah.
So my number 2, probably Homer-ish, but it's what I'm wearing. You already mentioned the 76ers, the classic 76ers. And I know a lot of people, and the young guys out there, like my nephews and my son, they like the Allen Iverson era 76ers, and that made some list. It's not making mine. That's one of my least favorite 76ers. There's one other that's probably worse than that. But this one here is really classic with the basketball and the stars and everything. I think it's a classic design, and it's a good, solid logo that you can that is pretty much timeless. So that's my number 2.
All right. So my number 2 is my shirt. So it's the Lakers logo, and for me, it's just because it's iconic to me. Like you were mentioning, like everyone knows it. They don't mess with it, and it's not really fancy, obviously, or whatever. But obviously, I think it helps it
They
for
win,
me
right.
that they win. It
Yeah.
helps that I'm a Lakers fan, although not as much as I used to be when Magic was around and everything, and Kobe. But yeah, the Lakers logo is my number 2.
All right, so my number 1, hate to even say it because I'm a Philadelphia fan, but the Boston Celtics, the guy smoking a pipe, with a spinning the basketball on a finger or the cane on the other hand. I mean, that's classic. And like you said, I think when you think of, like you just mentioned, they generally have won, so they don't have to really change stuff, kind of like the Lakers and even the Sixers, so yeah.
But it is a classic logo. It's so classic that it's my number 1 also. And we don't discuss our list, but I mean, I think it's identifiable by everyone for the most part. That's the Boston Celtics logo.
But I also think, like I said, I just think it's cool. Like,
it is a neat. It's very well done, and it stood the test of time. And I like the color combination too. The green, there's a little gold in there, a little white. I think it looks good together, and it's just a classic logo. And I think another thing about a logo is everybody knows it. You don't have to be a basketball fan to know, and you don't have to see any words on it. Like the Lakers logo, it says Lakers. The 76ers logo, it says 76ers. The Boston Celtics logo, if you held that up,
people would know by just
most
by the
people
image.
are going to know by the image, and that's a good logo when it can do that. So.
Well, funny you say that. As a 76ers, as a 76ers/Lakers fan, I could not do that. I couldn't even put them in my top 5 because even though I thought they deserved to be there. So they're my honorable mention just because of that. Just because they gave me so much heartache over the
So
years.
what's left? I think I have a guess.
Me too. But
So my number 1 best logo is the Chicago
I
Bulls.
knew,
Yeah.
I knew that's where you're going to
From
go.
1966, the year I was born, that tells you how old I am, till now, one logo in team history. That tells you everything you need to know. I think that it also, it's what's the word I'm looking for? Your fear of a bull, right? I mean, the look of the logo is like not intimidating, but a little bit intimidating. More intimidating than the deer,
Right.
deer or whatever. But anyhow, but the Bulls logo is my number.
all right. Well, I'm going to go right into my honorable mention because I had the Bull classic logos of the Bulls. But like you mentioned, it's been there forever.
Yeah.
And then my other one I really liked was the Atlanta Hawks.
The Pac-Man logo.
Yes.
The Pac-Man,
yes.
yeah, that's a good logo.
So those
Yeah.
were my honorable mention.
Honorable mention: the Chicago Bulls was on my honorable mention. Classic look, and again the color scheme, the red, the black, the white, those all work, and they've stayed within that. They haven't monkeyed with the colors like some of these other teams have done. And my other honorable mention was actually on your worst list, Jeff, which was the Detroit Pistons, the classic logo. Not when they messed around with it with the horse and that stuff, but the classic logo. And just again, general theme, I guess. Obviously, I must like the red, white, and blue look because that's the look they had there. And there's a block lettering, classic kind of look there that goes with some things. Not the piston guy that you mentioned or anything like that. But that's an honorable mention for me because I think it's just something that doesn't go out of style, even though they felt the need to change it over the years.
So the Celtics, which I mentioned, the iconic Celtics logo, the Pac-Man Hawks logo. I actually like the Suns logo from when Barkley was in the finals with the Suns from 92 to 2000. And then, ironically, one of my honorable mentions for best was the Pacers logo that you didn't like but not the one, there's two of them. There's an older one. This one,
which one?
Not the one that almost has like, on the inside the P, it's almost like hands or something. Not that. That's weird.
That might have been one I was really thinking.
The one with the basketball inside the P.
Yeah.
I thought I like the Pacers color scheme and their type thing anyhow. But that made my honorable mention for best.
So I think the Pacers logo is just kind of plain Jane.
It is.
It
definitely.
And the color scheme works, but the Golden State seems to do it better than
yes, I will say that.
Yeah.
I should have had that. Yeah.
All right, so there you have it, gang. There's our list of NBA logos, best and worst of all times. So Google them, check out some photos on them, have some fun going back and checking out some old logos. You've been listening to and watching the Two Matts and a Jeff podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and like our YouTube channel. And of course, listen to us on Anchor or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next time.